Hi, and welcome to The Bright Balloon, a podcast where I'm sharing bright ideas for your balloon business. My name is Sarah Meyer, and I'm a balloon business owner like you, and I love the creative side of what I do, but I really love the business side, which seems to be the part where most people struggle. So I'm here to help. Each week, I'm bringing you an episode full of bite-sized tips you can use to make improvements in your business. I want you to make more money, eliminate stress, and learn along with me as we grow our creative businesses together. Welcome to The Bright Balloon, presented by 17 Hats. On today's episode, we are discussing the preferred path, how to become a top choice in the event industry vendor landscape. And I am joined by this month's curated sponsor, Bri, who is the owner of Elevated Impressions and Be Wise Consulting, and her friend Jamie Bolin, who is the owner of Cape Cod Celebrations. And today we are talking about forming relationships with vendors that are mutually beneficial in the event industry. It's a great episode full of tips, full of action items, and a great real life relationship between Bri and Jamie. And they talk about how they met, how they work together, and how they have formed this relationship that not only benefits their clients, but kind of gets them in the door at other event venues and for other occasions. So stay tuned. It is a great episode. But first, I want to introduce you to Bri, the driving force behind Elevated Impressions and this month's curated sponsor, meaning that she has chosen the lineup for the month of March. Bri is the owner of Elevated Impressions, a burgeoning balloon decor and event rental business, and now the promising founder of Be Wise Consulting. More coming on that later this month. She is ready to launch her first small business-focused product, and she is based in picturesque Cape Cod, Massachusetts. In just a few short years since founding her business in 2019 from her home basement, Brianna has not only elevated thousands of events across multiple New England states, but has also built a dedicated team of full-time and seasonal staff. Her passion for creating efficient systems and her commitment to community involvement has made her a respected leader and philanthropist in her field. But that's not all. Bri has earned numerous accolades, including the Spirit of Aaliyah Award and SCORE Small Business Excellent Award, just to name a few. She's also a sought-after speaker and educator, sharing her expertise at events like Batalic Balloonathon and Balloon Boss Summit. Join us as we dive into Bri's incredible story, her insights on entrepreneurship, and her unwavering dedication to uplifting her community. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or just someone looking to be inspired, you won't want to miss this month-long takeover. Without further ado, let's take a quick break and head over to the U-Glue hotline for some great advice that sticks, and then kick off the month of March, curated by Brianna Silvio, the owner of Elevated Impressions. Welcome to the U-Glue hotline, where we discuss great advice that sticks, brought to you by Pro Tapes. If you have a question or some great advice to share, click the link in the show notes to call in and leave a voicemail.
Hi, my name is Telia from Tickle Teals Entertainment, a small town 3.5 hours north of Toronto in Canada. I partner with the hospice, with local charities, and I actually collect balloon bouquets from past clients and donate them to charities. So I kind of built a really great community, and moms bringing back balloons. I can reinflate them. I give to charities. I give garlands as well, different charities as well. It makes me look good as a business. It benefits the charity. It makes the parents and the events feel great that they can donate and that they're being reused. It's recycling. I don't know. We're a balloon business. We can make people happy. This is the one chance that we can really create a great community and build up your business. So, yeah, there's my tip.
Pro Tapes is a leading manufacturer of specialty tape products like Pro Gaff, Pro Artist Tape, and our favorite balloon tape, U-Glue, which helps you create amazing balloon arrangements and decorations in less time. You can save 5% on U-Glue when you buy directly from Having a Party using code BRIGHT at checkout. All right, welcome to this episode. We have Brianna and Jamie talking about the preferred path, how to become a friend with a vendor and work together. So this is not like getting your name on the list at a hotel. This is like another vendor that you work closely with and you both benefit from. Am I correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All
Yes.
right. Well, I'm really excited because I wouldn't say I have any super close partnerships. So I have everything to learn in this episode, and you guys seem like you're doing it really, really well. So let's start with some introductions. Bri, why don't you kick us off?
Hi, I'm Bri from Elevated Impressions in BY's Consulting on Cape Cod. And I was able to meet Jamie Bolin of Cape Cod Celebrations a few years ago. And throughout my teaching that I just started doing in the past year in the industry, I received the question a lot, like, how do you become a preferred vendor with different planners and different other vendors and venues? And I thought that I could speak to it while I was teaching, but I thought it would be even better and more beneficial if I brought in literally the cream of the crop from Cape Cod. She's the absolute best, and kind of pick her brain so that everyone that's in the industry can learn directly from her what to do and how to get their foot in the door as quickly and efficiently as possible.
Awesome. And we should quickly mention too, Bri, welcome to your month. Welcome to your curated month. I will have said that
Thanks.
in the intro, but this is going to be our kickoff episode, which I think is great. You have curated the month. You have chosen, including Jamie, you've chosen the guests for the month to really help elevate our industry. I mean, your name is so in line with what you're trying to do. You're trying to help other people find the success that you have found in your business. So, thank you for curating this month.
Thank you so much. It's the best way that I can possibly give back to you in the industry is by just sharing what I know, and hopefully people can replicate any of the successes I've had and stay away from all the mistakes that I've made.
Yeah, love it, love it. Well, Jamie, go ahead and give yourself an introduction. Who are you?
Sure. Thanks, Sarah. So my name's Jamie and I own Cape Cod Celebrations. We are in a wedding and event business based on Cape Cod. I've had the business for about 17 years. I think we're going into our 18th year on the Cape. We do mostly weddings, that's our main focus. We do some small birthdays, anniversaries, other type parties. But we have a team of about 8 girls that are women, I should say. I always say girls. They're my girls. 8 amazing women who also take on events throughout the Cape. And we have ventured off Cape here and there a little bit, but mostly our home base. So I'm born and raised Cape Cod.
Okay.
So this is where we are. This is where we're staying. This is our focus. And there's just so many events here on the Cape. It's hard to go off Cape sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Bri and I met, like she mentioned, a couple years ago, and she's an amazing human. And I'm so thankful that we connected, and we kind of actually found some interesting connections once we got into it. So her dad married my husband and I on Nantucket.
So did you know this? This was just random after the fact?
This was super random. So I love Nantucket. It's one of my favorite places on the planet. My husband and I got married there. And we were chatting, and Bri was like, "Oh, I lived on Nantucket for a little bit, and my dad was a minister over there." And I said, "Oh, really? What church?" And she said, "First Congregational." I said, "Oh, really? When?" And she said, "What?" I mean, I don't know what the years were, but it was definitely over 2004. So I was like, "I think your dad married us." And so I pulled out our wedding book and I sent her a picture. I'm like, "Is this your dad?" And she was like, "There it is."
Oh, that's so funny. Bri, I
I
didn't know
know.
that about your dad. Was that
Yeah.
his lifelong career? He was a minister?
No, my dad was a rock star and for a band called Bad Habit, and then he got the
Oh
calling.
gosh.
When I was 7 or 8, he got the calling and he became a congregational pastor. He has his master's of divinity and changed his entire life. And now he's retired and he's a full-time papa, and he works for the business. He works for Elevated Impressions as well.
Oh my gosh, he's lived like three lives, three careers. That's so cool.
He sure has, and I've lived them with him.
That's cool. Cool. Well, okay, so you had that weird coincidence that you had this
Mhm.
connection before you knew each other. But how do you go from, that to like tight friends and partners? Like how did you build that relationship? Because I think it's kind of hard and a little awkward. Anytime I'm trying to make connections, I feel weird, or like, is it weird to just ask someone on like a blind coffee date? Like, how do you do this, and how do we build this relationship?
Sure. Yeah, I'll chime in here, Bri, first, if you don't mind. You mentioned, first of all, coffee date. I'm the type of person that does not turn down a cup of coffee. So and I don't even drink caffeine. I just love a good decaf almond milk latte. So I will never turn down a cup of coffee. So if you're looking to connect with somebody, for me personally, it's like, hey, reach out and just say, I'd love to take you out for a cup of coffee and just kind of meet and learn who you are and what you do. So also, Bri and I were talking and we were trying to figure out when we met exactly, and we couldn't pinpoint it. And when you ask, like, how do we build this relationship and everything, I was like, it's kind of actually cool that I don't really remember, because I feel like we just have been friends forever.
Mm.
So there is that moment of like, when did we meet? How did this all come together? But there's obviously a lot of reasons behind the why, like, her professionalism, her follow through, some things we should touch on today, just the pieces that make me want to come back, like
Mm-hmm.
proving to me that she is an amazing business, has an amazing team, will show up on time, cares about what she's doing. And a lot of it has to do with just the experience that we can have together, and learning and growing together. I don't know, Bri, if you want to chime in on anything there too, because
Yeah, Bri, what is your perspective from the business or the balloon business side? Like, are you calculated? Are you looking for people to have partnerships with? And I don't mean calculated in like a nasty way. I mean, like, are you trying to get on the list of these vendors, or are you kind of seeing what's a good fit and what works well? Like, how are you forming these partnerships, assuming that Jamie is probably not your only partnership that you have in your business? Like, how are you forming some of these relationships?
Yeah, initially, my goal was to learn as much about the event industry on the Cape as possible. And then as I was learning about the event industry on the Cape, I learned that we have a 50 to $60 million wedding industry on the Cape annually. So for me, within the square miles of Cape Cod, this island that we live on, that was a huge number. And I thought in my head, I need to be able to tap into that for this business to be sustainable. And then my creative mind kind of bumped in of what can we provide that would be beneficial to the wedding event industry. But initially, um, I looked at the people who were doing things the best that they could possibly be done on the Cape. So it wasn't like contrived or planned or anything, but Cape Cod Celebrations is synonymous with the best events on the Cape. There, it just goes hand in hand. They have an
Yeah.
incredible reputation. Their entire team is professional. So I thought if I can just be vulnerable and ask questions and get in touch with Jamie and let her know that I'm newer in the industry and have an understanding. She's like, what you do is so cool. And behind the scenes, we're like, oh my gosh, Jamie's going to hire us for a job. Like the Jamie and the Cape Cod Celebrations is going to hire us for a job. These are really high stakes.
Yeah.
And so I just wanted to know how the successful people do it. And I wanted to do it the way that they do it and follow their lead.
I love that. I love that because I feel like the more simplistic version of that is like, I want to find who does all the big parties. But it's like, no, I want the best of the best because I want to be the best of the best. And I want to align myself with those people. And even if I'm not there yet, and I can ask my way questions, up to the top level. So I think that's really smart. Very cool.
Yeah, when we learned how Jamie and her team conduct their events, we started to replicate that with all of our other events. So Jamie's team, every single Monday before you work with them, will send an entire itinerary, an entire event scope of the other vendors that will be there, what time you'll be on site. They're sending those confirmations every single Monday. So in my head, I said to myself, send confirmations to every single client that you have every Monday.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's just seeing what they do because they do it the best and then doing it in our small business, even if it's a birthday party and a garland.
Yeah. Right. Right. I love this. I did the same thing too, but for a production company. And they are the best of the best. And they have, tens of millions of dollars of lights and screens and like totally, totally different on a different level. But little things like they show up and the name of the company is on every single box of gear. Everything is on wheels. They look so professional loading in and loading out. And like, I'm probably not going to have a box truck and a crew of 10 guys anytime soon, but like, I can spray paint the name of my business on the side of my kit. Like, I can do little things to look a little bit more professional. So I love that idea of trying to kind of just steal some of those things that other people are doing really, really well and replicating it in your business. That's such a great tip. Love it. Jamie, what are other, we're kind of jumping ahead here, but I'm curious, like the sending confirmations on Monday. Can you think of any other thing in your business that you're like, yeah, that's just a no-brainer. That's just how we work. That for us, some of us that are a little bit more creative and dare I say like harebrained, just flying by the seat of our pants doing balloons. Some of us need those processes. Is there anything else that you're like, we do this, we do this, we do this?
I think one thing for me is, and this is kind of along these lines of, is just like the local knowledge and immersing yourself in the industry where you live. And by that, I mean going to these venues, seeing them in person, knowing what you can do there. And this is, more so on the front end of it as opposed to like the week of confirming things. But I don't want to be the one finding out answers for you. So, with Bri, like we've had so many projects together where, hey, can we hang something from the ceiling? Can we do something differently in this space? And because she knows the space, or even if she doesn't know the space, she's going to go and be like, where can I attach magnets to the ceiling? Where can I, install a marquee, or where are the best places to do this and how can we do this? And I think that is just huge because as planners, yes, we have these brilliant ideas, but you're the ones who know how your equipment works, what you can put up, what you can install where, there's certain venues that have rules. You can't hang anything on the walls. You can't put stuff on the ceiling. And we had one of those and we found a way to put stuff on the ceiling. So, there's just doing that back end research, not going in blind. And I think that's also a great way to make connections with venues, is
Yeah.
saying, I want to come and I just want to see what you have. Bri actually did an amazing install at one of our local venues, probably 2 or 3 years, maybe 2 years ago now. And she brought samples of what she could do. So we saw the marquees, we saw installs in the ceiling, we saw big balloons, we saw fringe, we got to see it in the space. And that was a great little showcase. And it was just for, I think Bri, you called in like mostly catering managers and planners to see it. So then we knew, we're like, we've got this. Now we can visualize this. Now we know we can do it here. And we knew we trusted Bri beforehand, but now we can see this all in action and know how it works.
Yeah.
I just think that local knowledge is huge. Huge.
That's great. Well, and we have notes here. Well, you guys have notes. You're so prepared. And two of the things here that I think you just touched on was once you work with someone, prove to you that they're amazing. So that's kind of, I feel like what you
Yes,
just explained is that
absolutely.
key. And then the other thing here is offer a free install or service. And I kind of, when I was reading the notes, I was like, ooh, I don't know about that. But that's what you're saying Brianna just did, right? Like you set up your own little showcase. Can you talk about that, Brianna? I've never heard anyone do that.
Yeah, there were two separate things that I've done that have been absolutely pivotal for Elevated Impressions and the way that we kind of broke into the event market on the Cape. So the first one was that I would contact the venues and ask if I could have a tour of their venue, and just take a little bit of their time and get to know them and have them get to know me. I'm very much so a person that, like, if we're able to connect and communicate in person, you get a better feel for who I am and kind of my values and how organized I am. So I think that that's one of my strengths, and I really found it to be important with venues seeing that. So I would contact the catering managers at these venues and say, hey, I would love to have a tour of your space and just learn about your best practices on site and see how we can be the best person possible when we are on your site. So they set up tours. They were like, oh yeah, absolutely. Come on in. Set up tours. And at one of the venues, they said, something that we're really trying to push that hasn't really taken off are these after parties. So we want people to be able to stay on site, rent this other space here, and have a party right on site. And I thought in my head, ding, 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 create an after party. So I went home, brainstormed a little bit, got back to them and said, would you be open to me collecting a few of your preferred vendors, setting up a photo shoot, and setting up a faux after party? and just showcasing some of the things that we can do. So I hired a photographer. I asked some of the local vendors that were on their preferred vendor list if they would be interested in collaborating with me, and they would have access to all the photos. And they all luckily said yes. And I mean, we were brand new. We were like 6 months old in the business. Honestly, we were brand new. But that's where we built our first balloon chandelier. I was like, Lauren, who's on my team, the lead designer, I was like, let's build a chandelier. She's like, you think we can do it? I was like, I think we can do it. We had to come up with a custom rigging for the ceiling. We had to come up with, we'd never built a chandelier before. We'd never worked with these other vendors before. The planners from the venue walked into that space, and it was like they lit up like a disco ball. They were like, oh my gosh.
That's awesome.
So we showed them what could be done. Now they sell it to their clients.
Mhm.
We showed Cape Cod Celebrations what we could do at that venue. Now they sell it to their clients. So the only thing the venue actually needed to provide to us was the space. And then everything else after that was a benefit to them.
I
And
love
I
So
want
it.
to chime in on that too, because how cool is this? And Bri just said it. You set that up and now I sell it. So now I am a salesperson for Elevated Impressions. Like
Yeah.
if you have to look at those free situations, free installs, free options of like even reaching out to a planner and saying, hey, I want to set up something for one of your weddings. Just pick one, let me know. It would be awesome. That's marketing dollars. So
Yeah.
now I see that, and it's not even dollars, it's the cost of your balloons and your time or your service or whatever you're doing. And then now I sell that after party setup every single time I'm at that venue, every time. And
That's
all I need
amazing.
to do is email Bri and say, Bri, need a chandelier, need this, da da da. So she's not having to do much work, you know?
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I love that. Okay, can we talk about preferred vendors in the broader sense? Because when I got married 100 years ago, it was like, here's the folder from the place. Here's the sheet of paper with all the vendors listed. And I used all those vendors. I was like, there's the cake place, there's the DJ. I couldn't even choose a cake place. It was only that one I was allowed to use. So they were like required vendors. Is that old news? Does that happen anywhere anymore? Like, I don't know if I'm a preferred vendor in the sense that I'm like on the special list, but I don't know if that even exists anymore in any of these worlds. Bri, are you like on any of those lists, or you're just talking about preferred vendor in terms of like your relationships with people?
we are on a lot of those lists
So those still exist.
because we have direct relationships with the venues where these events are occurring. We have direct relationships with their catering directors, um, with their main planners on site. And a lot of them have teams because we do have such a big wedding industry.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go to a local country club, some people are like in the country, they're like the closest country club is like 2 hours away, Brie. I understand that for the listeners, but it can go as far as a local restaurant talking to these people and saying, have you considered having balloons here? Bergen Skinner from the industry, she just went to a car dealership and said, have you considered having balloons here? And they're like, yeah. And she said, may I do just a free setup for you? I'll bring the photographer. She essentially did what I did the first time. Now they're hiring her on after doing that free install. They're going to hire her on for future events.
Yeah.
So it really is like, let people experience you. Businesses want to do business with other businesses. People want to invest in other people. So represent your business, represent yourself as a person, and you don't have to really sell anything at that point.
Yeah,
You're
that's
just
amazing.
you're providing a solution and a service.
Is there like a non-weird way to ask about their preferred vendors? Or do you just hope that your relationship turns into that? Or like, is there a way to be like, hey, let me see who you got? Like, do you already have a balloon person? Am I on the list? I don't even know. Like, I get a lot of jobs at certain venues. So I know that I am quote unquote preferred. Like they're recommending me, but I don't think there's that magical piece of paper that there was when I got married. Like how do you know?
Well,
How do you ask? How do you say like, "Hey, you have this list on your website and I'm still not on it. Could you put me on there, please? Thank you." Or like you just got to earn your way on. Like what's the deal with
You,
that?
that is such a great question. And we get that question
yeah.
all the time from so many vendors.
Do you
Even
have the magical paper list?
Well, it's a digital list. We don't
Oh,
print.
see, I'm 100.
We have a digital list, but there are still, when you go to venues, they will send with their brochure, here's our preferred vendor list, and it will list out all sorts of things. I mean, even as a planner, sometimes venues don't list planners because they're like planners. But we'll look at some of those lists too, and we'll be like, that's an interesting list. Okay. Like it doesn't
Right. I'm like, are you just
align.
on there because they don't know how to update the list and they're just
That's
running photocopies? Like they lost the digital copy and they're too lazy to update it? Because sometimes people
possibly.
are on there where I'm like, I thought this was a drug front. I didn't even know this was a real business. Like I've never seen this person at any events ever.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So funny. But I mean, we get asked all the time, more so honestly, it's like, how do you think we can get on the preferred vendor list at this venue? Like, and I'm
Mm,
like, I don't know, work there, so
yeah.
it is for me, especially, or for our team, we do not I don't think I ever have put anybody on our preferred vendor list until we've worked with them.
Right.
So one of our processes as a team is after each event, we actually fill out what we call a post-event recap sheet, which could be helpful for any vendor, honestly.
Yeah.
We have all these questions, and one of the questions is, are there any vendors you worked with that you think we should add to our preferred vendor list? So if we worked with a new photographer, if we worked with a new florist, new balloon vendor, anything, we go through those lists and we pull those and we add it to, we have a front facing preferred vendor list and we have an internal preferred vendor list because we can't put thousands of vendors on an external one. People would
Yeah.
be like, this isn't true. But we keep it on our list and some of them get bumped up to that actual digital version. And some just kind of stay on our internal one because as we're talking with clients, we'll know, okay, this vendor would be the better fit, but they're not really on our front facing preferred list, but we know we have them in our back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough because it's like, how do you awkwardly say, like, can I be on your list? Or like, what does
Yeah.
the list look like? Ooh.
So do you
I
think
have
it's
had I have had these conversations in the past. Just with it being my original goal to be on those preferred vendor lists. And one of the questions that I've asked is what is when you're having that walkthrough, when you've requested that time with the site planners and with the venues, ask them, what do you look for in a preferred vendor?
Yeah. As opposed to, can I be on your list?
yeah.
I get on your list. It's just, what do you look for? How could I earn that spot?
Yeah, I feel like it's like rushing a sorority. I'm like, so what does your ideal new member look like? Oh, I have all
Yeah.
those qualities.
Right.
That's me.
Yeah. And when you say, like, what is your favorite, when they have preferred vendors, or if they're like, oh, there's already a balloon person on our vendor list, it's okay to say, what do you love the most about working with them?
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
And really, we also need to like flip things and not be like, oh, you use them? Oh, no, your professionalism says, oh, what do you love about them?
Yeah,
Okay, you love that about them? That's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start being the person and the company that they love working with too.
yeah, yeah. And I think again, there's so much in this conversation, and I love it. Um, I almost have not abandoned my quest to get on these preferred vendor lists, but like I'm much more drawn to being a partner with someone like Jamie, who's not going to up and leave her job versus these catering directors, the events managers, these venue-based positions are like musical chairs. And it's a different person almost every single year since COVID. So like it's really hard for me to invest in building those relationships when those people literally just leave overnight and then it's like, "Oh my gosh, all that work is gone with them." So I think it's almost better to invest in the other vendors at this point because they're not going anywhere. Like they're not going to abandon their businesses in the middle of the night and replace them with someone you've never met before. So I've lightened up on the preferred thing, but I think it's those relationships like you guys have.
When you're new to the industry, I feel like that's the thing you're striving for, right? I mean, even when I started 18 years ago, I was setting up appointments at venues and asking if I could come see. And some of them were very reluctant, like, okay, sure, come by. Like one of the venues I remember going to, it was pouring rain. It was a horrible day. It was in November. And this woman met me, catering manager there, still know her to this day, love her. She's not working there anymore, but we still connect. And I knew when I got there, she was not super excited to have me there. And by the time I left, she said, we don't recommend planners a lot, but I really enjoyed chatting with you and we'd love to recommend you. And
Oh,
that's
that's
what like
great.
Bri touched on earlier was get in front of them, show them who you are, show them your personality, and that's the huge takeaway for me because, like Bri's personality, I'm like, hey, we're friends now.
Yeah. Right. And I definitely have some of those people that I'm closer to. The ones where you can be at the venue together and you're just like, I want to freaking die. Like, I hate this event. I hate everyone here. This is the worst thing of my life. Those are my friends when you're just like, you can commiserate and be honest and you kind of let that professionalism drop a little bit.
Mhm.
Or like I even have a florist and I actually got a holiday party that she didn't, which is apples and oranges, but the budget's the budget and they decided to spend it on balloons this year instead of flowers. And that was kind of, I felt bad, but it was also a good relationship. She was texting me like, "Are there flowers on the table? Let me know if they hired a different a florist." And we can kind of be competitive on the same team together for those same events. Kind of have each other's back, which is like the next level of friendship, I think. I think that's really cool.
Mhm.
But Jamie,
Yeah.
you're such an interesting person to have on because you're doing this from both angles. You are trying to be the preferred vendor, but also work with and collect preferred vendors. So you're kind of
Yep.
everything.
The
So
me.
along those same lines, as the planner, if you could boil it down to three things that you're looking for in your preferred vendors, what would some of those things be? Assuming you're talking to balloon people, which you likely are.
Yes. Yes. Well, I mean, all of it goes for any vendor, but absolutely. I think, some of it we've touched on, but one of my biggest things is just communication. You have to respond to emails, phone calls, whatever. You need to respond within a reasonable time. I hate sending the email that says just following up, just checking back
Hmm.
in,
Just
because now
circling back on this one.
circling back, any of those. No, thank you. I just, I send it, I'm trying to give you business.
Yeah.
So respond, and be quick. Like Bree said, like, even if you're confirming it before I'm confirming an event, or, if I'm reaching out for, well, if it's two separate things, right? So if I'm reaching out for a proposal, I'm trying to sell something for you. So get back ASAP. But also, as Bree said, I do the Monday confirmations, but if you confirm before I even reach out, win. Amazing.
Yeah.
Now you took that off my to-do list. So it's already checked off. Yeah. So being able to have that open communication, also having the open communication, right? So being open and honest about anything that you think you can do, you think you can't do, or making suggestions, it's super, super important. So communication, super key. Consistency, you need to be consistent. You need to show up on time. You need to know when setup is, breakdown is. Your work needs to be consistent. There shouldn't be any question marks out there ever. It should
Hmm.
just be you come in, you do your thing, especially so like for planners, we don't know how to build a balloon arch. We don't know how to do these things. That's why we're hiring you. So we're kind of the orchestrators. And if we can give you the information, then you can show up and do it on time and be consistent every time. And I know that like I have these events with Bree. She's setting up an after party. I'm down at the wedding. I never even see her team. I just know that it's going to be set up and done. I don't have to check it because I know every time she does it right. So she's consistent and her work's consistent. Um, and lastly, I touched on it earlier, is just the local knowledge. The local knowledge. You can't come in and be like, oh, I'm a new balloon vendor and I know nothing about this area. I know nothing about venues. I have no clue what I could install in that ceiling.
Right, right. Like, how tall are the ceilings? Are they magnetic? Well, what time can I get in? Where do I park? Like, that's all more work for you, is what I'm hearing.
Correct. 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 We want you to know what you can and can't do. We want to come to you with ideas and say, we want to do this crazy elaborate install in this venue. And either you can say, oh, we have some fabulous ideas. We know we can do magnets. We know we can do this on the walls. We know all these things. Or a response of, sounds amazing. Let me go do a quick site visit and get some measurements and figure it out and come back to you with a proposal. Or do you
Yeah.
want to meet me there and we can brainstorm together? So just having the knowledge to have your answers and not relying on us to be like, oh, can you ask the venue how tall the ceilings are?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. And I've done all these things in the past 10 years. Like I have done all of these bad practices, kind of not knowing, you're kind
Right.
of like, I don't know, like who's in charge here? And it's like, oh,
Mhm.
I need to be in charge here.
Correct. Because even if I know how tall the ceilings are, I have no clue what you can do there.
Right.
So, it's like we rely on you.
Bree, same question, but I'm going to flip it. What are three things you look for in a planner? Because I have worked with some planners that are nightmares. Like sometimes they're like, I'm a planner. And I'm like, are you though? Because you're emailing me from an AOL email address and there's like 15 typos in your email. So like I'm concerned for everyone. So have you worked with like not a great planner? Or I mean, you can just rattle off the highlights that you look for when you are working with a new vendor.
So, working with a planner or a new vendor is much like working with a brand new client. So, once you get into your groove with your business, you start to know almost immediately if it's a good fit to work with them or not. And now that we're more established, we're in our fourth year of business, which we're rookies. And I'll always say that, like, we're rookies, or people that have been doing it much longer than we have. But there are things that we do look for. And if it doesn't feel right and they don't have the information that we need to the questions that we're asking up front of timelines and install and breakdown, and it's constantly this, oh, I don't know, or they don't even know to provide certain information. It's kind of like we're at a point where, we want Jamie communication.
Yeah. Yeah,
We
you do
want
get
it
those
to
emails
be.
like they haven't confirmed a date yet and they're looking at a few venues. It's like, well, then we're not really ready to talk. You can look at my pricing online, but further than that, I don't have much to offer you if you don't have a date or location.
You're exactly right. And it's what an amazing theme. We love it. Once you get more details, please let us know and we'll solidify your date in our calendar. And it's like, don't take it any further than that because that is an ultimate, like it's a waste of your time.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, much more to talk about. Let's take a quick break and then we will come back. We have some tips. We have helpful advice. I have a question. I'm going to put you guys on the hot seat. We did not prepare, but I want to talk a little bit about money and who gets paid what. So let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. Balloon Pros, if you haven't stocked up yet, now's the time. Having a Party Wholesale just launched something big. Anagram latex balloons are here. You already trust Anagram foils, and now their high-quality latex is ready to take your designs to the next level. And I have a new code for you. Get 5% off orders over $200 using the code PODCAST at checkout. Don't miss out on the latest and greatest in balloons. Shop now at havenaparty.com and keep creating those amazing installs with the best supplies in the industry. Okay, welcome back. So I'm glad you guys have such a great relationship now, but I'm assuming it wasn't always perfect. And Bri, we know that things never go as planned. And Jamie, I'm sure from the planner standpoint, same thing. They never go as planned. I hear you have a story of when something maybe didn't go well and you fixed it. Share, please.
Yeah. Should we do both sides of the story? Because you
We'll
weren't
do
you
both
weren't
sides of the
there.
story. Yeah.
So I had a client who was doing a birthday party, and I contacted Bri, of course, because birthdays mean balloons. And so we connected and we needed to do a little arch, right? I think it was just the arch over a doorway, and there might have been other
10
things too.
foot garland.
10-foot garland.
Yep.
Perfect. So we had talked to Bri, we talked about, colors and everything. And she told me the color story and, here's what I'm thinking. I think you did like a balloon inside a balloon or something to lighten the
We
color.
double stuffed it to make it the perfect tangerine with a pearl.
Yes, it's great. So the birthday party theme was orange, like everything was orange. We had oranges on the table, the flowers were orange, everything was orange. And the garland arrived and it was beautiful, but it was definitely pink.
Mm.
And so at first I was like, "Ooh, do I say anything? I don't know if I say anything." Like especially because the tables were so orange. It was like orange, 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 and then it was pink in the balloons. So I was like, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And I was like, "You know what? I'm calling Bri." And I think because of the relationship that we had already built, I felt comfortable calling her. So that was a good thing. And I wasn't calling, I mean, I don't think I was calling super pissed, but I called and I was just like, so, Lauren dropped off the garland and it's definitely very pink. And I think I sent you a picture of it. And I was like, it's okay. I'm sure you can't replace it because we were what, 45 minutes from your shop easily?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 45 minutes away.
Yeah. So I was like, there's no way you can replace it. I understand. But then I was also wondering, like, I was like, is there a way I can like cut off the like what
Outer balloon.
the
Yeah.
outer balloon? So I'm trying to think through ways, whatever. And Bri was like, no worries, hang tight. What time does the party start? Okay, we're gonna get you a new one. Or like, I don't even know if you said you were gonna get you one. You're like, Lauren's gonna take care of it. She'll be back. And so I didn't know if she was gonna come back and just replace balloons and like fix it because I don't know how you build these things. And so little you know, 45 minutes later, the party had like just started-ish, but she snuck it in. We got it up. It was orange. It was fixed and it was done. So she made it happen. It was a miracle. And, I was like, was it the like showcase piece of the event? Not necessarily, but the fact that it was there and it was the wrong color and we fixed it and now the whole thing was cohesive was awesome.
Did
Really.
your client ever even know?
So it was more of a surprise party. So
Okay.
the woman did not know some of these things were coming in, but they did not know that there was a little switcheroo happening. They're like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. Don't you worry."
So,
And all was well.
Bri, I'm assuming it wasn't as calm on your end. What was that like in real life?
Like the duck in the water where the duck's head is like nice and calm and swimming along, and then under the water it's like little legs are going crazy. So I got the picture and I received the picture and the text from Jamie. I was having my anniversary celebration with my husband. So I wasn't working, but I say that in quotes because as small business owners, you're always working as the owner. And I was like, I'm so sorry, Billy. I have to take care of this right now. I need 15 minutes. And I sat on a stoop on the side of the road and I called Lauren and I was like, "Hi, where are you?" And she told me where she was. And I said, "So I got a picture of the garland and it's pink." And what we had done is we had stuffed an orange balloon inside a pearl white balloon. And I thought that it would create like a pearl tangerine color.
Yeah.
Not at all. It was
Hmm.
pink. It was pink. No question about it. And so Lauren was like, "Okay, what do you want me to do?" And this is early days in the business, honestly. This is early days. This is like Jamie knew of us. She had worked with us a couple times, but we needed her trust. We needed her to be able to trust us. And something that I think that is very important as a balloon business owner is you have to have humility. When someone tells you that you've done something wrong, don't say, "Oh, we can't get back there. This is what you chose. You approve this." How valuable is that relationship to you? And to us, it was extremely valuable that we did the right thing and that we followed through with what she asked for. So we did something dangerous and illegal. Lauren got the balloons. She was at the studio. She got to the studio. She inflated all of the balloons that she needed, bagged them, got in the back of the van. Rudy got in the driver's seat, and he drove her
I
to the
haven't heard this
venue.
story.
Have you? I don't think I would never share this story. I
She
would
built it in
never.
the back?
In the back of our cargo van, Lauren created a balloon garland, a 10-foot balloon garland. And so actually, yeah, because she didn't have any of the other balloons, so she couldn't deconstruct what she had already done. So I'm talking like 3 pack. She was like hand inflating 3 packs, adding them into the garland. And she said literally just as they were pulling up, she put the last 3 pack on. They like threw the door open. She ran in with the ladder and the garland. They took the other garland down, put this one up. There were a couple of guests that had already entered the room. Like she like fixed it in a couple of places and was like, "This is ta-da!"
I
Oh
never
my
even heard
gosh.
that story of how it happened, which is so funny because it's like, I don't need to know the story. I just need to know that it got there,
Yeah.
but
100% of the time, as a professional, the client doesn't need to know the story. They just need to know that you've got it.
Well,
yep.
I think too, we're guilty of like wearing this dress like a badge of honor, and we like need to tell everyone how wild and crazy it was. Like, oh my gosh, Jamie, we were in the back of the truck and blah blah blah. But don't worry, we did it. Like it's almost like you want to prove how much out of your way you went, but I think it's better to not say anything. And it's just like, oh, this
Yeah,
was no big deal. Like
no big deal.
we totally just had this extra orange garland ready to go.
At the end
That
of the day, you hired us to do it. I don't want to know if someone's making my dinner if when I'm at a restaurant, I don't want to watch them make the dinner. I don't want to know that they burned it the first three times that they tried to, put the perfect crisp on it. I don't need to know all that. All I need to know is that my dinner was absolutely delicious.
I love it. Well, and that was how many years ago?
That was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
was 3 years ago.
Well, that's funny. I mean I definitely had that. Or colors shape shift, you know. They look good in your shop and then you get into a room full of orange and you're like, that's not as orange as it looked like it was in my in my
And to
studio.
Lauren's credit, she was like, "Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure? Are you sure?" And we were still in the times of we can't get the color balloons that we need. So we were
Yeah,
double
yeah.
stuffing a lot. And I was like, I'm like, Lauren, I'm sure. I am sure. And she trusts me. So she does exactly what I ask. And we've changed that now. I'm like, no, I am never sure. You are the designer. You pick what's best.
That's awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's shift. I want to talk about payment a little bit because I think that's another mystery of working with planners. I just had actually while we're recording this, I saw a payment come through from a planner. So sometimes it's like, who are we paying? I've had it where I send the invoice to the planner and they forward it to the person hosting and then they pay. I've had it where the planner pays me directly. I've had it where a planner asked me to mark up my prices and then they took a cut of that. Like, I don't know what's normal, and I don't know when maybe it's a little weird. And like we talked about before we started recording, sometimes that gets kind of dicey with like taxes. Like if someone looks like they're paying the entire bill, but they're not, like they're like it's kind of strange. So, Jamie, what do you personally do for your company?
Yeah. So we do not do any markups. We do not do any sort of like commission based with other vendors. We just like to keep it clean. We don't
Mm-hmm.
want to have to pay on somebody else's behalf. We don't want to front anybody. What if we pay Bri and then the wedding cancels and now that's not refundable? And what if the client didn't pay me and now I'm stuck with a non-refundable deposit? It's a lot to deal with and
Yeah.
it's something we would prefer not to. And a lot of people too ask about, kind of circling back this conversation to preferred vendor list. A lot of people ask like, do your preferred vendors like give you kickbacks? Like, are they on your list because you make money off of recommending them? And we're like,
Right.
100% no. All of these people on this list are people we would hire if we were having a party or getting married or whatever.
Yeah. And I don't even
So,
think that there's, I mean, necessarily anything wrong with that because I'm like, if you're giving me a ton of business, I'm okay giving you a cut of that, but I don't know what's normal and what's not and
well,
what's
and you
weird.
say
So
what,
that's
yeah,
just your personal preference as well. Yeah.
my personal preference, and you say what's normal, like, I don't think anything is normal, to be honest.
Okay.
And I think everybody does it a little differently. And if you're like a big full service planner and you really handle absolutely everything, and the client doesn't really touch anything, then that might make more sense for you to, you know, add an extra fee on or whatever. But it's also things like, then I have to make sure that Bri's proposal, the original one, never gets in the hands of the client. So I have to make sure that it's always the one with the added fee on it. And we deal with this, from time to time, but not enough. We try not to deal with it, is what I'm trying to say. We try not
Yeah.
to, we want to just have that one proposal that goes to the client and that's it. We're not trying to hide or finagle things, or our clients booked us because they trust us. So, why am I going to say Bri's $1,000 proposal is now 1,200?
Right.
Like that just doesn't feel right to me, but
So
that's
all your
sometimes how we
vendors
feel
have
about it.
their fee and then you have yours. They're
Correct.
just paying you like another service provider.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah,
Exactly.
I have one. I
Yeah.
think I think one in my area, kind of his standard is his fee is 20% of what the total party is.
Yeah, we do that as well, but that's a little different just
Okay.
because you're basing, like, I'm not taking 10% or adding 10% onto like what your fees are. but I'm taking the total of what the party was and I'm saying our cost will be 10% of that, which is just like an additional fee that goes directly to us.
Yeah. I mean, that makes
So,
sense to me because if you're helping them book one garland, that's a lot less work than if you're having them book a, 30-piece orchestra and 4 venues and
correct.
shuttles and drapery, all that stuff. So the
Right.
price goes up. Um, but yeah, I've never known what is normal and when to kind of put my foot down. I think if I was asked to raise my prices at this point, I would have the confidence to be like, well, no, but I'll add an extra line item on there for your fee. But I'm not going to like pretend like suddenly my arches are twice as much as they actually are, especially because my prices are on my website. Like it wouldn't take a genius.
Right, right, exactly. So there's that too. So like, oh, but I saw that her prices were this and you're charging me that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I've just never had that conversation with anyone. So I'm
Yeah.
always a little confused. Like I never know who's paying or whose credit card it's coming from. As long as I get my money, I'm like, okay. But yeah,
Yep.
like you said, if that event gets canceled and it's like, well, I'm the event planner, so I need my money back because we didn't do the event. And it's like, well, but I don't refund people. So now I'm kind of in a tricky situation. So it does
Mhm.
get dicey.
Yeah. I'm always just like, let the clients pay their own stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool.
Mhm.
All right. Well, let's talk about some tips. You guys have done some planning, some brainstorming, and you've already given us so many good ideas. Like just off the top of my head, my takeaways so far, and there's a lot, are doing that little self-created showcase, touring the venues, being the expert of the venues. Like I just have so many takeaways that I can't wait to implement. But you guys have even more for us. So, Bri, I'm going to toss it over to you. We're in a general category now called tips. What else can you offer us because you are just doing this so well.
Thank you. Tips. The first overall thing that I would say is ask if you have an event planner and someone that's putting on events or an event designer or the scope of the event world is huge. So if you have someone that you're working with, and you want to set yourself apart, they may be working with other balloon artists or they may have a balloon company on their preferred vendor list, but you can always ask them if they've seen something or if they've heard requests from their clients for certain things at their events that they don't know how to source.
Mm,
So if they are like floral backdrops are huge this year. When we first started, they were. Floral backdrops are huge. Neon signs are huge. If we could get someone to do those, it would be amazing. And in my head, I'm like, I'm going to get a flower wall and I'm going to get 2 neon signs for people to rent. And I'm going to send that to this planner and say, we've added this to our offerings. Once you get in the door with people of things that they need, you're providing a solution, and then you can add on balloons because, of course, flower walls and balloons go hand in hand. So it could be something that's crazy that you've never heard of before, or that is just completely out of your scope, but at least you know their needs, and maybe you know someone that can provide that item, and you can say, we don't offer that, but here's preferred vendor that I have that
mm,
you will love to work with. And
yeah.
you do that 3-way email. Sarah, you've seen me do them. Jamie, you've seen me do them.
Yep.
Hi guys, here's who these people are. Here's why they're amazing. Go ahead and take it from here. Drop me off the email thread. Hope to see you guys on an event soon. So you're providing value, 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 even if you're not the one that's providing that specific item that they need or that specific solution, you're still providing value as a person and in your business. So I think
I
that's
love
good.
that.
One of the tips that I have, and it also kind of plays off of this like money question of like, who's paying what? And are we making commissions? And like, how do I thank these people for bringing me all this business? Thank you gifts are great. So we do them even to some of our favorite vendor friends and venue friends, and we receive them from our favorite vendors. So typically it's around the holidays or after the new year. Go down your list of people and figure out some sort of fabulous thank you gift. And it could be anything from a coffee card to a Yeti to, and I mean like a coffee cup, not like a
Yeah.
Yeti, $300
Cooler.
cooler. So, but do something to just show that like you are so grateful of your connection, you're so grateful of your relationship. You know that, this vendor or venue or planner has sent you so much business and it just stays top of mind, and
Yeah.
it's something that it doesn't have to be a lot. It could be $30, it could
Yeah.
be something small. You could also pick and choose like, oh, Jamie's team sent us so much business this year. Like, why don't we give them X? And like, oh, this, smaller one brought us not as much business, but we can give them a little something too. But just doing something as a thank you for that business, because like we touched on earlier, right? We almost do a lot of the sales for you once we are connected and we have that relationship. So that little thank you goes a long way in my mind.
Do you have any other gift ideas? I think the Yeti is
I
such a
can,
good idea, and I never
I
would have
can
thought of
share
that.
some, I can
Yeah.
share some of the ones that I've done.
Yes,
We can
please.
share. Uh-huh.
The very first year we did a stuffed balloon and we put small bottles of Prosecco in it and chocolate and some confetti, and we made it New Year's Eve themed. And we did like a little arrangement with a stuffed balloon and delivered it to them and just said, thank you for all your support. We hope you have a happy new year. That was our first year. And then I was started to receive gifts and I was like, okay, we're upping the ante. And honestly, we only do this for about 15 people.
That's the thing.
We
I
do,
think people are like, there's no way I could afford this. But it's like, well, who are the people giving you $10,000 or more? It's probably not a very
we
long
do our
list,
top tier. So a
Yeah.
$100 gift for someone that's sending you $10,000 a year, I think is completely manageable
Mm-hmm.
and totally okay. And it will probably turn to 20 in the following year, honestly.
Mhm.
The what did I do?
You did
Oh,
move in the cool tins. Wasn't that one of them?
Oh, I did the personalized. Yep. There were really cool tins, and then that were different locations, and then a bottle of Vouv on the inside. So that was another one that we did. The third one, we did bottles of pink champagne, and we hired a local florist that we love working with, and she did these little flower arrangements on top of the champagne bottle, and she actually delivered those for us.
Oh,
They're
nice.
so cool.
We did last year, I did the Stanley Cups were really big. So I
Mm-hmm.
did custom Stanley Cups with something else. It wasn't just a Stanley Cup. It was like a cute little coffee cup holder, the Stanley Cup, and a little thank you card, like monogrammed. And I hired someone to do the monogramming because now I'm like, okay, what do these people actually need? They
Right.
need live monogramming is huge right now.
Live monogramming?
Live lettering at events is really big this season, coming up this year. So if you give out shot glasses at your wedding, or if you give out a mug, you'll have someone there that will live customize it for them, and then
Yeah. Oh,
that's their take
cool.
home.
You guys sound
And
so
then,
trendy. I'm in the Midwest and I'm like, what? What are
but
these trends?
Sarah, it really is all about wowing them
That's
Mhm.
and like
amazing.
providing that value and making them feel seen. This year, act like you're surprised, Jamie, when you
I
get
was
it.
gonna say I have yours too, but yours is coming today or tomorrow.
This year, I'm chappy wrap. The blankets are my like all the rage for me right now. So I'm doing personalized monogram chappy wrap blankets for everyone to help them warm up for the busy season.
Cute. I love a
So
pun. Oh my
cute.
gosh. I love
Love a
puns.
pun, right? So, yeah, so we're doing those this year because it is cold on Cape.
It is cold.
Oh my gosh. Well, you guys,
Love
we're
that.
already at an hour of recording. I could talk to you all day, but we have to wrap up. This is like turning into 2 episodes. So let's take one final break and then we'll get into our final questions and end this amazing interview. I have like lists of notes going in my
Yeah.
head. I'm so excited to do these things. So let's take a quick break and we'll be right back. Balloon Pros, if you've been putting off your website because you're too busy inflating, installing, or making magic for your clients, you're not alone. I know so many of you have been stuck between DIYing your site, struggling with templates that don't quite fit, or feeling like a fully custom website is out of reach. That's where Courtney Lynette Creative Co. comes in. Courtney is a web designer who has worked with tons of balloon stylists, and she gets the unique needs of your business. She's created Website in a Day, a streamlined process that gives you a high-end, custom quality website and branding without the stress or high cost. In just one day, you'll walk away with a beautiful, strategic website designed to help you book more clients, showcase your work, and stand out in a crowded market. Plus, branding is included, so your entire online presence looks polished and professional from top to bottom. And because you're a Bright Balloon listener, you can get $100 off your Website in a Day package. Just mention the podcast when you book. Don't wait another season to get your website working for you. Head to CourtneyLynette.com/bright-balloon to learn more, or click the link in the show notes wherever you're listening. Okay, welcome back. Let's end on our final 3 questions. Thank you again for this interview. I'm so inspired. I have so many ideas. I think of this type of stuff as like total ick, like networking and gifting and forming new relationships. I'm just like, oh, it feels so hard. But after this, I'm very excited to form some of these vendor partnerships. Let's end with our final 3 questions. The first is, where is your favorite spot to go on vacation? Bri, I already know yours, so go ahead.
Yeah, Bri.
Great. Yeah. Mine's Maui, Hawaii. Everyone knows that has ever met me, that is my safe place, the best place in the world to me. And I just got home from our annual 3-week vacation there. So I'm feeling very aloha right now.
That's amazing. Jamie, what about you?
So I'm going to answer with I have 2 answers. So my quick getaway is Nantucket. We already kind of touched on that. It's one of my favorite places in the world. If I have extra funds, is really anywhere in Europe. I mean, London. My husband and I went to Greece for our anniversary recently. We go to Germany frequently. So just send me east and I'll be happy in Europe.
Nice. Nice. All right. This one I think you guys are gonna have good answers for, because we just got into the gift giving conversation. But what's one thing you've purchased in the last 6 months that you're loving?
So mine was a repurchase. It was my AirPod Max headphones. I believe that, and you'll hear me talk about this a lot this year because I'm feeling very passionately about it. I believe that ear protection is so important in the balloon industry. And so this is my little PSA. If you're not currently wearing ear protection when you're working with balloons, please start to. And then these AirPod Maxes, this is my second set because I literally wore out my first set. When I'm traveling, I wear them. They have super noise canceling, and you can listen to Sarah's podcast and feel like you're in the room with her. But they do offer incredible amount of protection on your ears as well. So my AirPod Max headphones are it.
I just got back from a conference, and I did notice a lot of the people who have been doing balloons for a while, all had hearing aids. And I mean, they're also older, but like, I do think there is a lot of hearing loss in our industry because like it doesn't sound that loud when you're doing it. But if you're listening to that all day, every day, we're big on ear protection here too. We have the big, earmuff things that go over, but that's why you need your little wireless earbuds. And I'm the last person in the world who had I still had a cord connecting. I was like, I don't need these stupid AirPods. And then I got them and I was like, okay, this is like the best invention ever.
Yeah. How did I live without these?
Why did I resist this for so long? Jamie, what about you?
So in full disclosure, I did not buy it in the past 6 months, but I would buy it again if I needed a new one. It is called Remarkable, and it is a digital notepad.
Oh, I've seen this.
Yes. And I live by it. I've gotten rid of all of my notebooks. I don't have any paper notes anywhere. It comes with me wherever I go. The only catch is if you're like going to a meeting and then it's not charged fully. So that's the only thing. But I used to have notebooks all over the place. I would have different ones with different notes in it and everything. But the Remarkable is awesome. And it feels like you're writing on a piece of paper.
Yes.
Like it's not like an iPad where, there's so many things that it can do that I don't even think I use it for. because it can take your notes and put it into digital and email it, and then it's all typed out for you. But I
Yeah.
notes with squigglies and
That's the
lines.
thing. I'm always drawing, which is why I've always
Yeah.
been resistant to any tablet stuff. But I did see someone with this thing, and I was like, "What? This is witchcraft. What is happening
Yes, I
right
know.
now?" Like, they're like, "Oh, look,"
It,
and then it just turns into typed everything, and I'm
Mhm.
like, "This is crazy."
Yeah, it's awesome. I highly, highly recommend it. Highly recommend.
Neat. Ooh, I love a gadget. Very cool.
Yes.
All right, and our last question is a small piece of business advice that you can share with our listeners. Let's do Jamie first, and then we will finish off with Bri.
Okay, perfect. So my little business tip is to block off a time on your calendar weekly where you can do stuff for the business and not look at emails and not, well, you can look at emails if you want to, but basically blocking off a time that you can dedicate to yourself. Because for me personally, we just are always having phone calls, always having consults. We have weddings on weekends in season. So on my calendar, it's every Monday. It's from 9 to noon, 9 to 1, and it's called Monday Refresh.
Mm.
And it's just blocked. And so my husband's like, how's your Monday refresh? I'm like, it's there. It holds the time. It also, when I'm looking ahead of like, when can I meet with people? If I want to put something in there because I have to, I can, but I use Calendly as well for my appointments. And I just want to make sure that nobody can book that time without asking me. So, and because it's usually after the weekend, you're coming off the weekend, you just did all this work, you're exhausted. The last thing you want to have is a 9 a.m. call with someone on a Monday morning.
Yeah.
So, it can be whatever day makes sense for you on your calendar, but just having that time blocked. It's been awesome for me personally and
Love
professionally.
it. Love it. Bri, what about you?
Love that. I believe that you cannot have these relationships with vendors or with others without trust. And I think being an honest person and having integrity is incredibly important as a small business owner. So I will leave that with a quote from C.S. Lewis that says, "Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one is watching."
I love it. I love it. And I loved this interview. And I'm so excited for the rest of our month together, Bri. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for bringing us some amazing March content. And Jamie, it was so lovely to meet you. Thanks for taking
Yeah,
the time and
same.
kind of showing us behind the curtain of the event planning world that we sort of know, but sort of don't know. So I feel like I have a much better plan of action in place for working with preferred vendors. So
Absolutely.
thank you
Thank you for
both
having me.
so much.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening. As usual, I tried to keep it bright and light. Our presenting sponsor is 17 Hats, the CRM I use to cut the chaos and manage my entire balloon business. From the lead capture form on my website to workflows and email templates, invoicing and grab-and-go garland automated bookings, it's all powered by 17 Hats, the best customer relationship management system for balloon businesses. There's even a 50% off coupon code waiting for you in the show notes wherever you're listening. I'll see you next week in another episode.